Okay, let's go ahead and practice working with fractions. And we're going to do that by tackling this fraction problem. So if you're bored and you really want to have some fun, you're like, you know what, I want to do something interesting and fun, well, then take on this problem. It'll take you all of about a minute or two to accomplish, but you don't want to use your calculator. So put your calculator away and tackle this nice little math problem. Of course, in basic math and even more advanced math like algebra, you need to know how to work with fractions and simplify various expressions with fractions like this. So what do we got going on here? Well, we have 3/5 being multiplied by this value right here. And of course, this is in parentheses. So we have 10 plus 1/3 minus 3/4. So we're trying to figure this whole thing out. I'm actually going to do this problem and taking two different paths. So there's a couple of different ways you could approach this problem, i.e., here is the beginning of the problem, here is the answer. A student can go this way, they could go this way, they could even maybe take another path, but eventually we should all end up at the right answer. And of course, I'm going to tell you what that correct answer here is in 1 second. But if you know how to do this problem, put your final answer into the comment section. Of course, I'm going to show you the solution in just 1 second, and then I'm going to do this problem two ways, okay? Just so we can kind of, make sure you understand how to work with fractions. But before we get going, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TC Math Academy. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. I've been teaching math for decades, and I'm telling you right now, you can be successful in mathematics, but what you need is great math instruction. Okay, hopefully, you have an excellent teacher and they have great instruction. Great instruction is clear, understandable, and comprehensive. So, if you're at the middle school or high school or college level, in terms of mathematics, check out my Math Help program. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description of this video. I promise it will help you out big time. Now, if you are studying for some sort of special test, something with the math section, I'm talking about things like the GED, SAT, ACT, maybe the ASVAB, teacher certification exam. I have a ton of test prep courses that can help you prepare and pass those exams. If you homeschool, check out my homeschool program for middle and high school mathematics. Matter of fact, I'm very proud of this program. Won a lot of different awards this year with it. If you need a pair of math notes, well, my first question to you is where is your notes? Okay. Well, if you don't have notes, you need to start learning how to take great math notes. But in the meantime, you can use my notes to study from. I'll leave links to my notes in the description of this video. And if this video helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the answer right now, and then we're going to go through this problem two different ways. Okay, so here it is, 23 over 4, or 5 and 3/4. Both of these are equivalent, so if this is your answer or this is your answer, well, then you did awesome. As a matter of fact, I need to go ahead and give you a wonderful happy face and A++. Matter of fact, we'll give you like 120% and multiple stars for being an outstanding math student, at least when it comes to fractions. So that's very, very good. Now, again, there's a number of different, well, not a number, there's not so many different ways you can do this problem, but I looked at this problem, in two primary ways. And I'm going to show you the first way right now, which I think is probably the path that a lot of you did not take. Okay, so I'm going to show you my, kind of like first, well, if I was to do this problem and I just had to do this problem, I would do it the way that I'm going to show you right now. And then I'll show you a way that I think a lot of math students would approach this problem. Both ways are fine, and both ways get you to the right answer. So here, I have 3/5 times this expression right here. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to use the distributive property. There is a property in mathematics which you should know. Let's look at it real quick. If I have 2 times 5 plus 3. Okay, so 5 plus 3 is what? Well, that's 8. So 8 times 2, we know the answer is 16. Well, the distributive property says that this number right here, we can multiply it in to these values right here. So 2 times 5 is what? That's 10, plus 2 times this 3 right there is 6. 10 plus 6 is 16. So you get the same answer. So this is an illustration, again, of something called the distributive property. And it doesn't have to be two values. It can be two or more. And as long as these terms or numbers are separated by addition, or subtraction, then you can apply the distributive property. So here, I was thinking, oh, I have this 3/5. I can multiply it by this 10, 3/5. I'm going to multiply by this 1/3, and then this 3/5. I'm going to multiply by this negative 3/4. So I'm going to use the distributive property, kind of clear up, try to simplify this problem because I'm seeing some nice opportunities to kind of simplify and do some cross canceling. So this is my first approach. So I'm going to go ahead and do this this way, and then I'll do it a way where I think most of you probably the path that most of you probably took, which is you probably dealt with all of this inside the parentheses and then multiplied by 3/5, and that's perfectly fine as well. But let's go ahead and get into this problem. All right, so we have 3/5. We're going to multiply by 10, so that's this right here, 3/5 times 10. And I have 3/5 times 1/3, that's this right here. And then 3/5 times this negative 3/4. Remember, this is a negative 3/4. You can see that more explicitly if you make this into a plus negative. So 3/5 times that negative 3/4. Okay, so let's go ahead and simplify this. And here, if you're good at multiplying fractions and cross canceling, you can go like, okay, 5 goes into 10 2 times, so that's 3 times 2, that's 6. All right, so I'm like, oh, awesome. I got a nice little lovely number here when I multiply these fractions. And then here I have 3/5 times 1/3. These 3's cross cancel, so that leaves me with the fraction 1/5. Now, if you're confused with anything I'm doing, whether it's the distributive property or multiplying fractions, you want to follow through and make sure you improve on that, okay? Let me give you a couple quick suggestions. One, I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel on fractions, or you might want to check out like my Pre-Algebra or Math Foundations course. You can find those at my Math Help program. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on here. So I'm looking at 3/5 times negative 3/4. Here I can't really do anything, so let's just multiply these fractions. So I'll multiply the numerators. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and then 5 times 4 is 20. So you multiply the respective numerators times the denominators. This is how you multiply fractions. So you have negative 9 over 20. So, by taking the distributive property, I got my problem down to this. And I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and start working with this problem, which is 6 plus 1/5 plus negative 9 over 20. All right, so here I'm like, well, I have no alternative but to add these fractions. So let's put some grouping symbols around this, and let's go and concentrate on how to add 1/5 plus negative 9 over 20. All right, so when you're adding or subtracting fractions, remember the denominators need to be the same. So here we have 5, here we have 20. The denominators are not the same, so we are thinking LCD. What is the lowest common denominator? Hopefully, you said, oh, isn't it 20? Yes, you would be absolutely correct. The LCD here would be 20. Now, if you don't know how to find LCD, again, you need to follow through and master these basic fraction skills. Just go to those suggestions or go through those. Yes, just follow those suggestions I said earlier. Those two math courses, my Math Foundations course or my Pre-Algebra course, or check out more of my YouTube videos because I've done a ton of videos on fractions as well. So what this means, the lowest common denominator being 20, means that we can't add these fractions until both of these fractions have the denominator 20. Well, this one already has 20. This one is not a 20, so how can I turn a 5 into a 20? Easy, just multiply by 4. So 5 times 4 is 20, but if I multiply the denominator by 4, I'm going to have to multiply the numerator by 4. So we have 4 over 20. Okay, that's equivalent to the fraction 1/5. So now I have 4 over 20 plus negative 9 over 20. I'm ready to finally add these fractions. And the way I do that is simply add the respective numerators and put it over one of the denominators. So 4 plus negative 9 is negative 5 over 20. I didn't show this completely. Matter of fact, let me show it here for those of you confused, because I don't like to make too many assumptions in terms of math, but hopefully you understood this step. But let me write it out anyway. So we got 4 plus negative 9, so that's going to be negative 5 over 20. Okay, so again, if you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, then that's a good indication that you need to do some pretty serious review on your fraction skills. But anyways, when we added these fractions up, we get the fraction negative 5 over 20. And before you do anything else, when you're doing a fraction problem, that involves fractions, your first move always should be to simplify the fractions, reduce the fractions before you do any steps. So here I have 6 plus negative 5 over 20. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to right off the bat reduce this fraction. So negative 5 over 20 is the same thing as the fraction negative 1/4. So now I have 6 plus negative 1/4. Now, hopefully, a lot of you are like, oh, if you have 6 and I take away 1/4, let's just kind of see this like on a number line here. Here is 5 and here is 6. Okay, so here's 5 and 1/2. Let's make this in fourths, right? So here's 5. Here is 5 and 1/4. Here is 5 and what? This would be 5 and 2/4, which would be 5 1/2. And here is 5 and 3/4. And then right here, here is 5 and 4/4, or 6. So if I have 6 and I take away 1/4, where does that land me? Well, it puts me right here at 5 and 3/4. Okay, so hopefully a lot of you were like, oh yeah, 6 plus a negative 1/4 lands me at 5 and 3/4. If you just wrote your answer that way, for me, as your math teacher, I'd be perfectly happy with that. I'd be like, okay, awesome. You were thinking in these terms. That's excellent. But let's suppose you were like, didn't see this answer right away. So now we just are going to deal with the question, what is 6 plus negative 1/4? Well, again, we have 6 over 1. We have to go ahead and find the LCD. So what's the LCD here? Well, it is 4. Okay, so this fraction here has 4 as its denominator. So I need to fix up this fraction such that its denominator is 4. So we got to multiply both the denominator and numerator by 4. So we got 24 over 4 plus negative 1 over 4. Now we can go ahead and add this fraction. So we're going to keep one denominator 4, 24 plus a negative 1, or 24 minus 1 is 23 over 4. So this is perfectly fine as well. These two are equivalent. This is an improper fraction, okay, and this is a mixed number fraction. But let's say you wanted to check. You're like, well, somebody got this as their right answer, but I got this as my answer. Well, let's make sure you know how to convert an improper fraction to a mixed number. So the way you do that is to take 23 and divide it by 4. So let's go ahead and do our old-fashioned, old school division here, right? So you're like 23 divided by 4. So you're like, okay, 4 goes into 23, 5. So that's 5 times 4 is 20. And we're going to go ahead and subtract. It's 3. 4 can't go into 3. So it's remainder 3. So we write that as 3 over 4. And there you go. Okay, so 23 over 4 is equivalent to the fraction 5 and 3/4. Okay, so that is one path to get the right answer. Let's go ahead and do the second path real quick. So a lot of you probably took this path. You already got 5/3 times all of this, so we need to go ahead and figure out what all of this is going to be equal to. So easiest way to do this problem is I have two fractions and I have this number, but we could just make this a fraction as well. So I have 10 over 1 plus 1/3 minus 3/4. So what do I need to do here when I'm adding and subtracting fractions? I need to find the LCD. So what's the LCD of 1, 3, and 4? As denominators, it is 12. Okay, so let's go on and rewrite each fraction such that its denominator is 12. So here, this 1, I have to obviously multiply it by 12, and I have to multiply the numerator by 12, so I get 120 over 12. And then this fraction here, I'm going to multiply by 4, so I'm going to get 4 over 12. And then this one, I need to multiply by 3, so I'm going to get 9 over 12. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add and subtract the following fractions. So the denominator is the same, so I'm going to put that 12 right here. And then I'm just going to deal with the numerator. So that's 120 plus 4 minus 9. Okay, 120 plus 4 minus 9. Let's go ahead and figure that out. So 124 plus 9 is 115 over 12. And we're going to multiply it by 3/5. So this is another opportunity to cross cancel. You're like, oh, 3 goes into 12 4 times. Okay, so you can write that as a 4. And 5, if you notice here I have a 5, and this number ends with the 5, so this number is divisible by 5. So 5 goes into 115 23 times. Okay, so you can kind of just do that quick division. So 5 goes into 115 23, 3 goes into 12 4, and then we end up with the fraction 23 over 4. And of course, if I wanted to just make sure I got that right answer, I could take that improper fraction and turn it into the mixed number, and you would end up with 5 3/4. Now, a lot of you might think that second way, this way right here, was easier to do, and it might very well be a little bit easier to do this problem this way. But I wanted to kind of do that problem the first way using the distributive property because that's such an important property in mathematics, and it's one that you absolutely need to know. So a lot going on in this problem in terms of fractions. Here's the thing. Whatever level of mathematics that you're at, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, you need to know fractions super well. Okay, so it's definitely going to be a wise thing to do to brush off any cobwebs or to review what you don't know. You can learn this stuff, okay? But the way you're going to get better at fractions is to actually do practice problems. It's, watching me do problems is not, you might understand the steps, but you need to do the problems yourself. That's how you better a skill. Okay, so again, if you're struggling with fractions, I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel, and my pre-algebra and my math foundations course would be an excellent suggestion to get better at fractions. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.